Hello friends, I am back, kind of. I'm just here. I have some paranormal stories to tell you because they're interesting and they're fun. And why not? Because story time, right? I have 3 stories. They're going to get progressively scarier as they go on. So yeah, I hope you enjoy. To preface this, I've always believed in like supernatural, paranormal type stuff. Yeah, I'm kind of weird. But I've always had like weird feelings or, you know, just, I don't know, like ghost spirit related stuff. I don't know. Anyways, I was in my childhood bedroom. I was in a dead sleep. And then all of a sudden I just remember waking up to this giant like crash sound. It was just one sound, and it almost like, I remember imagining that our stereo that we have in our basement, for some reason I just picked that. It just sounded like that was just like dropped from like a really high height. So that was just my initial thought, and I like woke up and I was like, what was that? So I went to investigate. My mother and I went to investigate. And it turns out that this vase that we have at the top of our stairs broke and like was at the bottom of the stairs. Now, obviously that doesn't sound too paranormal, but here is what makes it paranormal for me. This vase was big. Like it was like 3 feet high, maybe about a foot wide. It was full of like flowers and like potpourri, and I don't know, it was really, really heavy though. Like it was made out of like a stone clay, I guess. So it was really big, okay, and really, really heavy. So we had 2 cats that, you know, would play around this vase all the time, and obviously it's like, oh, well, probably the cats knocked it off. But like I was saying, the cats would play around this all the time and never knock it over because it was so heavy. So it wasn't the cats. And also, what makes it paranormal, I think, this isn't the most convincing thing, but if you're like, say theoretically the cats did knock this vase over, then you would have heard like a tip sound, and it would have like jumped down the stairs, and you know, you would have heard it falling down the stairs to its inevitable crash at the bottom of the stairs. But there was none of that. Like it literally sounded as if someone like picked it up and just like dropped it at the bottom of our stairs. So yeah, that's the first one. It's not that scary, but I can't explain it. I can't explain how it happened. And yeah. Second story actually involves an actual figure. So this was about, I want to say, a few years ago, maybe 3-4 years ago. I was going downstairs to get a drink of water in the middle of the night, and in my house I've always gotten weird vibes, like just not necessarily that something was going to hurt me, but just like a feeling that something was always watching, and like, you know, it was a very eerie feeling all the time. And I've never felt this like anywhere else, unless it's like paranormal. I've only really felt this way like in my house. So as I was going downstairs, like I have to go downstairs with a light on because obviously I'm scared. I went and got my water, and as I was coming up the stairs, our staircase sort of spirals upwards towards the upper level, and from my staircase you can see into the dining room from where you're standing on the staircase. So as I was walking up, again, I'm still feeling this weird feeling, but like I'm always feeling that way, so I just like brush it off. But I sort of look to my right, and I see this like, it wasn't like a person's shape, but it was tall like a person, and it was sort of like a blobby, sort of black, shadowy mass thing. Granted, it could have been my eyes playing tricks on me. However, this thing sort of like morphed its way, like floated into like further back into the room, into the dining room, and like I could see it, like it was almost going from the doorway, it was going backwards and away so that you couldn't really see it from where you're standing on the staircase. And I was just freaked out. I like ran up the stairs, and I was talking on the phone with my ex-boyfriend at the time, and I was like, oh my god, I just saw this. He was like, no, you're dumb, it's okay. And then the rest of the night, I proceeded to hear like walking downstairs, like just footsteps, and knocking on this wall behind me. So that was fun. Yeah. So that was my second story. Again, not the scariest thing, but the third story is what absolutely still scares me to this day. I don't like it, and I hope I can convey what actually happened to you. So, it was when I was still in high school, and I was walking to school early one morning. It was probably about like 7:45 or something. I crossed from my house to the sidewalk across the street, and then I started walking left towards like an intersection. It didn't have any lights or anything, it was just a four-way stop. And I remember as I was walking towards this intersection, I could see this girl diagonal across the street. So if I was on one corner, she was diagonal across the street on the other corner. So she was walking up, and we were sort of going to meet together, right? We weren't at the crosswalk yet. We were both on our separate sidewalks. And I see her, and as she's walking, she has this really weird facial expression on. Like, she's kind of like, she's walking kind of timidly, like she's taking like small nervous steps. And she also has this face on like she's looking at something. Like literally she's just like walking very like literally as if she's very unsure of what's about to happen. She's just sort of meh. So I see her obviously, and I'm like, that's weird. Like she's young. She was maybe like 7 years old. And I was like, what is she doing like all by herself? It's, you know, like, what are you doing? But I brush it off. I'm like, whatever. So I keep walking, and eventually we are finally at the intersection together, and we begin crossing the road together. Now there's no cars around, so it's not like either of us have to like maneuver cars. So we're both walking like perpendicular to each other. And again, as I'm getting closer to her, she starts like getting more scared, more apprehensive. The face that she has on is a lot more like fearful as opposed to like worried. She's more like, it literally looks as if she's looking at me like I have like two heads or something. She's just really scared, you know, like she's like, right? Then she gets to the other end of the crosswalk before me, and she starts crossing toward me. So now we both are on the same side of the road, and we're crossing by each other. And as she's doing it, I am like, I'm not gonna keep looking at this girl because like I'm awkward. So I just like look away while we're crossing each other, and I'm like do. And then finally, as I get to the other side and she gets to this side, I sort of glance back, and I notice that she's stopped walking. She's just standing at the edge of the road in this like hunched over position a little bit. Like her knees are bent, her arms are, you know, like this. And she's looking at me like she's about to fight me almost. And I'm like, what in the world? So yeah, she's just standing there, and I look forward, and I'm like, this is really creepy. And then not even a second later, I looked back, and she's gone. She's nowhere in sight. And there is no way that she could have ran anywhere fast enough to the point where I couldn't see her anymore. Like, she was just gone, you know? I told my ex-boyfriend at the time, and he was like, he did some research on it as well, because he's like, that's really weird. Basically, he came back to me and was like, maybe, he was sort of humoring me at this point, but I kind of believe it's true. He's like, maybe because you were at an intersection, and crossroads, like if you believe in like spiritual, supernatural stuff, crossroads is a place where like the dead or living or what have you can cross over. If you've seen Supernatural, you'll know what I mean. He thought that maybe this was like the spirit of a girl that just was like crossed over or crossing back over or something, but she was really confused at the thought that I could see her. hence why she was looking at me so like weird. So that was terrifying. I was so scared to cross that intersection again, and every time like I go past that intersection now, like I still think about that because who is this girl? So those are my scary stories. I do have lots more if anybody's interested in hearing them. However, I might just also post them just because fun. If you enjoy this story, please give it a like because that lets me know that you liked it. Duh. I don't know. I guess I'll see you in the next video. Is that what you say? But yeah, have a good day. Bye! Ah! Oh my god! Ah! Can you not? Can you just not? What that? Oh, I messed up the shot! No! Just a little bitty heart. Alright, are we good? I think so.